I'm Laura. Today we are going to look at 3 streaming selections in this episode of What I'm Watching. This is a series where I will give you 3 different selections across different streaming services. Sometimes they could all be the same service, sometimes they're a mix. Now with that being said, if you're interested to see what I've been watching, then let's go ahead and jump straight into our first selection, which can be found on HBO Max, and it is the series House of the Dragon. Yep, you knew it was going to come up sooner or later. One thing for me that is a personal preference, not anything against the show, but I hate waiting week to week. This is one that you had to wait from week to week to watch. Back with Game of Thrones, I didn't start until like season 4 or 5, so I was able to binge and then catch up. This one, I was there from the beginning, and having to wait week to week is just not my thing. Now this series, I kind of feel like the first few episodes, you're kind of just doing a steady walk. You're building to something that's going to be big, but it's not really big yet. Which is okay, because I mean, every story has to start somewhere. Just know that this one, I feel like it's got kind of a slow start to it. I think around the 5th episode is where I really got drawn in, and I really started to feel like there was action going on and things were starting to ramp up. Now, when I made my notes on this one, I did put that I felt like the finale was kind of going to be the mother of all finales. And I feel like that did kind of own up to it just a little. You know, it's not the biggest, but I do think this one definitely left you on a cliffhanger. There's a lot more, especially if you've read the books, which I have not. You kind of know what's to come. Even if you watched Game of Thrones, you know what's to come. I'm looking forward to season 2. I think it needs to come in with a bang. There needs to be a lot starting right off on season 2. Don't give me a slow build up in season 2. We already did that on season 1. Season 2, you need to come in and start off strong. Now let's shift things a little bit. We're going to move over to Hulu, and we're going to go into more of a small mountain town kind of setting for our next selection, which is Big Sky. I had no idea this one was a thing. I just was browsing through Hulu, found it, started watching it, kind of got caught up in the storyline, and I was actually talking to my mom and realized that it was something that she had started watching. I think it's on like regular TV or something, but Hulu, of course, as they do with many things, have the earlier seasons. So of course I was able to binge watch, which is my preferred way of viewing things, and able to catch up a little bit. Now in season 1 at least, this one is kind of putting PIs against cops, a little bit like Magnum PI, just a little darker. You're not humorous, it's not fun. This one is a little more serious and a little darker, a little edgier. Now, as I was saying, I just stumbled upon this one, but Hulu does have 2 full seasons, and by this time that I'm doing this video, they probably have more episodes of season 3, because I think currently season 3 is where this show is in its current time. I will say that so far what I've seen, this show does tackle real life events that not everybody talks about, that are becoming more prevalent. So I really need to keep going on this one because I kind of stalled a little bit. I need to get back into it. For our third selection, we're going to head over to Netflix. We're going to look at the backstory of some fairy tales, and we're going to do that with The School for Good and Evil. Now, as I mentioned, this is kind of telling how fairy tales came about. Not the way Wicked did for The Wizard of Oz. It gave you the backstory of Elphaba and Glinda, you know, kind of shook things up a little bit. Is good really good? Is evil really evil? Maybe. Sometimes it's a matter of perspective. Now, this one starts with 2 childhood friends who are chosen for this school, and this school is split into 2. The school for the good and the school for the evil. Now, everything's not going to be that cut and dry, so that's kind of the basis of this story. Things aren't always what they seem. People aren't always who we think they are. We're not always who we think we are. Now, I won't lie to you, some parts of this are cheesy, but if you can get through those, it does have a nice storyline. Now, from what I could tell, none of the characters are ones that you're gonna know. Even though I mentioned fairy tales, well-known characters are referenced, they're not in this movie. Again, these are gonna be characters you really haven't heard of before. This one is definitely set up for a sequel. Depending on how this one did will probably determine if they actually make it or not. It's not so much that they leave you on this huge cliffhanger. There is that opportunity to go back to this story and expand on it, but if they don't, then you have your closure for the movie. So don't worry about that. Well, those are the 3 selections for this episode. I hope that you will find something that you will be able to enjoy. If you are not interested in any of these selections, don't worry. I have a whole playlist of past episodes that I will link for you. That way you are sure to find something that's going to strike your interest. I hope that you will subscribe. That way I can see you in the next video. I look forward to seeing you there.